Hey, this is Mark Schoenbeck. We appreciate everybody joining us for another episode of Kestra Out Loud. I am super excited to have a conversation with these two gentlemen, two great financial advisors who do so much in their communities. We're going to spend a little time chatting about what you do, why it's important, and the impact that you're making. So first off, on my left, Yudi Gross, co-founder and a financial advisor with Aequus Partners Financial Planning down in Florida. And on my right, my friend Thom Shumosic, MidAtlantic retirement planning specialist, founder, and up in the great state of Delaware. Gentlemen, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
It's awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So, Yudi, why don't you start us off? Give us a quick overview of you and your firm, and then...
Sure, would love to. Absolutely, Mark. So as you mentioned, my name is Yudi Gross. We're based down in Boca Raton, Florida. My partner and I founded Aequus Partners in 2019, right at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. And we actually were in one of the large wirehouses, and we had been with the same firm for a couple of years. And before that, we had met in the training program of a different wirehouse. Okay. And as not such young trainees, we were outliers. It was second careers for both of us. My first career was actually in politics and public advocacy. On the federal level, on years working for campaigns, off years working for non-for-profits, working on their legislative agendas and trying to push those forward. So we launched our firm, we partnered up with Kestra. We've not looked back. It's been a fantastic year and a half, and we're looking forward to doing even more with our good friends at Kestra.
And give a plug to Michael, your partner.
My partner, Michael Wallstrom.
Actually out.
Yes, you actually want him. He's the better looking of the two. He had his first career actually in TV production out in LA. He's a UCLA grad. So he couldn't make it because he's actually in Guatemala with Rotary. He's serving as governor for our region this year. So he's down there helping refurbish and rebuild aspects of a school in a village in Guatemala.
That's fantastic. Awesome. All right, Thom, your turn.
Well, I've been in the industry for 35 years. Began with a defunct firm called Mutual Benefit. Been with Kestra for 5.
Wow,
just about 5 years. That's coming up. And I look at a lot of the things that we do from a giving standpoint, and it's big philosophy of mine is, look, I've been blessed to do very well in this business over a long period of time. And I'm at the point in my life where this should be about giving back. And that's what drives so much of what we do, both my wife and I and me personally from my practice.
Yeah. Fantastic. So why don't we start with you? And the 30-second other update is you run a multidiscipline practice, right? You're kind of an expert in the retirement plan space and are also doing wealth management. Talk to us a little bit about what your main causes are. What are you supporting? What are you doing in the community?
There's 3 things in the community I do. I'm also Rotarian, which, service above self, is the motto of being a good Rotarian, and we get involved in so many things. One of the things we get involved with is something called Basket Brigade. Every Thanksgiving, we feed 250 families, and all the things that go on with that. The second thing is I'm on the board of trustees of the Delaware Art Museum, which is the oldest art museum in Delaware. It's really the flagship of the museum community, and it's such a hub and such an incredible part of the fabric of a community, when you get into the museum community. And then my passion is I sit on the advisory board at the University of Delaware, which is my alma mater, in the financial planning and wealth management major. And it's just amazing to really feel like you're on the cusp of helping people who are just about ready to enter this industry. And they graduate with a degree, and we've got all the course requirements done for the CFP, and they're chomping at the bit, and we're graduating 40, 45 kids a year, and they're all getting placed in the financial services business. So it's the mentoring aspect of that. Steph and I have endowed scholarship.
Yep.
It's our second one at the university. The first one was in athletics. But this one is more of the passion of helping the industry and helping the industry grow in the future.
Yeah, so we're seeing more and more universities create CFP programs, which is fantastic because our industry has been void of really good, high quality training for a while. Talk to us a little bit, or share a little bit about how you have leveraged that. I know through your involvement, you've really networked with the people running that program, and you've actually had some of the students as interns and in employees. Like, what's that experience been like? And
over the years, even before even before we had the major, we were very active in the internship. And you get kids out of finance or marketing or whatever. This is so much more target focused. These kids, they really want to get into the financial planning business. We've hired kids that are out of that program. We currently have an intern, he's a paid intern during his senior year at the university, and he's going to join us full time when he graduates in May. It's also the think tank piece of it, because the other guys that sit on the advisory board are from all kinds of different firms. There's a couple of other independent advisors, but there's guys from the wirehouses and a couple of the mutual fund companies and the like. And it's a great blend from that perspective as well. Yeah. And you hit on something I'm really, really passionate about, because there is this great drain of talent. There's so many advisors. There's more advisors that are over the age of 70 than under the age of 30. Yeah. I mean, that's a problem, and you look at where's financial advice going to come from. And the training programs, like the training program I went through at Mutual Benefit, that stuff doesn't exist anymore. Right. Even the wires have radically cut back with what they're doing in their training programs. That's right. So creating the academic end of this, and having kids, none of these kids ask me what the difference is between an ETF and a mutual fund, right? They've got all that basic blocking and tackling. What they don't have is the experience, and it's a great way to really build out. By the way, there's over 100 colleges and universities, according to the CFP Board of Standards, that are offering the course requirements.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you are making a difference not only in the community but to our industry, right? Right. A lot of people do a lot of great things in the community, but to have it so closely tied to what we all do is fantastic. So, all right, Yudi, your turn. You guys, as I know, do a ton and are involved in a lot of different things. Share with us kind of what's top priority for you and where you're spending your time when you're not being an advisor.
Sure, absolutely. It begins really with me and my partner Michael. We had met, and one of the original, or one of the first things that connected us as people in one of those training programs was that we wanted to find a way to enhance and enrich our own personal lives. I mean, both were deeply aligned with community involvement. At that time, if you've been through a training program, you're probably familiar with the salaries. It's not great, but we wanted to make a capacity gift to things we cared about. So based on our income at the time, we were looking at how we can make an impact on our local communities. And it's interesting to talk about these training programs. And one of the marketing strategies they tell young advisors or advisors in those training programs to really engage in is be involved in philanthropic endeavors, right? They call it social marketing in a lot of these books, right? And they tell you, get on the board, go to the chamber, go to the Rotary, go here, go there, and you'll network and meet people. We can talk about that later in the podcast if that's actually effective or not. But we started initially to look for things that we were really passionate about. Because one thing that was clear to us even then, and we actually saw it realized down the road as we got more involved in these organizations, is that when someone's there to network, the donors in the room know it, they feel it, they sense it, and they kind of drift away from you. But when you're there because it's actually a deeply shared value that you have is a shared value with the people in the room, you not only get to meet great people, but you get to do great things together for the community, and sometimes that converts and translates in the business. It has for us in many ways, but we got together as a partnership in the Wirehouse because we have these shared values. I like to call them philanthropic principles, that we really place those as a cornerstone of where we were in our lives at the time, both single, unmarried, we were trying to build books of business, but we had a lot of time in our hands. And we wanted to find a way to become, we both were new to Boca. I was born and raised there, but been in New York for 20 years and had just come back. My partner was coming from California. So we really wanted to find a way to get involved. So my partner, as we mentioned, is very involved in Rotary. That's become a real passion of his. And he moved up the leadership track there very quickly. My path to the charities I feel most passionate about is a little more convoluted. I actually worked at one point in my career for an organization called the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC for short. In fact, a lot of my AIPAC donors were very influential, helping me decide to enter the wealth management industry when I left AIPAC. At the time, I was running the MidAtlantic region. I always thought it was always good to go to wealthy, successful people to get advice, because number one, they've succeeded somewhere along the line.
They've done something right.
They've done something right. They've got the private jet and I didn't. But also it was kind of like, all right, well, if you told me to do something, it didn't work out the way you said it might, I could always come back to you and say, well, listen, you said you this, and look what happened. You got to clean the mess up. But they all kind of say, get into wealth management. And I moved down to Boca, back to my hometown. The CEO of the local Jewish Federation was actually the former director for AIPAC in Florida. Okay. So I sat down with him and I said, listen, I really got to meet someone. I need a job. I got a couple grand in the bank. I got to find something to do. And I want to work in wealth management. You know anybody I can meet in the community? And he threw out a name or two, and as any good fundraiser does, he immediately said, but you really should join at $1,000 a year. You'll be tons of people for these network events and the young leadership and this and that. And I was like, $1,000. At that point, literally 10% of my savings doesn't abridge me until I got a job. I was like, okay, listen, if you say it's worthwhile, I'll do it. And it took me a little time to evolve in that space and really find my own voice. But that was the beginning of what became a very passionate journey of mine with the Jewish Federation in South Palm Beach County, which is Boca. I've served on multiple leadership positions. I'm on the board of directors. I now chair their Professional Alliance Committee, which is estate planning professionals that work with the foundation to help our clients who are feeling philanthropic or have philanthropic goals that might be aligned with that foundation to move their endowments or create endowments with our foundation. My leadership has converted to also national leadership with the Jewish Federations in North America. I serve on their executive committee 3 years in a row, on the Young Leadership Cabinet, which is a group of individuals around the country who have to be younger than 40 when they start their term. It's a 5-year term. At the leadership track, leadership curriculum, and we travel once a year overseas to volunteer. The last place we went to pre-COVID was Russia and Georgia. Wow. And spent time in Tbilisi and Gori and St. Petersburg and Moscow. In the schools, in the food kitchens, really seeing where our dollars go from the U.S. communities in support of the safety net services there. And just recently, I know this might be edited out because it's still in the OBA system, I was nominated to be the national chair of their Young Leadership Cabinet this past week. So that's really what my passion has been, and it's been an incredible thing to watch. What makes me most passionate about that organization in particular, both at the local and national level and the global level, is that you're really working for a cause that has such a breadth of capabilities, and they're looking to find any need anyone has in the world. We're going to find a solution for it, whether it be financial or otherwise. And what's interesting about collective giving, which is the model of the Federation world, is that I wouldn't know which 50 organizations to give my check to, or which one needs 1,000, which one needs 3,000. They actually allocate through a internal audit process and grant writing process to determine, okay, we have these 100 organizations we support, and they figure out which percentages of the overall budget, which is about $15 million a year now in Boca, needs to go to certain places, and they really take care of that piece for me, so I know my dollars are maximized, amplified in a way that I could never possibly do my own with the resources I personally have.
That is very cool. I think one of the things that you said that, as you said it really hit me that I think is very true for both of you, and you didn't use the word, but what came to mind was authentic, right? Like you got to come to the causes you're looking for in an authentic way, not in a way of like, what am I getting out of this, right? Like knowing both of you, it is in your core to contribute in meaningful ways.
Yeah, somebody told me a long time ago, like when you join a philanthropic organization or you're volunteering, if you're doing that specifically because of what you're going to get out of it from a business standpoint, it's going to be a complete failure because people smell that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if you passionately believe in what's going on, whether it, in our case, Rotary or the Art Museum or at the university, the amazing thing to me is this attraction because people then recognize that you're authentic.
Right.
And it's not that you were quote unquote looking for business, but it comes to you.
Right. Well, and a great segue, I think, to another question I had for you. Hearing you say that, Thom, it's right, like-minded. You use the word values, right? When you share common values with people, that is a powerful force to bring people together. So, Thom, quickly, all of the giving back that you've done in the community, the causes you're for, why has that been so important to you personally, professionally?
Well, I came to this business with literally nothing. The power to my apartment was turned off the second month I was in the business. Steph married me anyway. I don't know.
Had great vision.
She had great vision. And I've watched this build and build and build over the course of time, and nothing is more valuable than the compounding of our time and what happens with your AUM and your what you're making in this business. And I'm over 60. I'm at the point where, look, I've got to give back. I've been so blessed by the circumstances, and look, I've earned where I've gotten to. I wasn't a second generation advisor. I wasn't. I built this organically, and I want to give, especially with what goes on at the university. I want to show kids what a path that looks like, and I don't want them to have to struggle the same way that I did at the beginning of this business. Right. I think this is because there's so many firms that need so much help going forward, that if they're smart and they get into the right situations, that you want, it's going to be a lot easier for them.
Right.
The one thing that I'm always railing against is these kids that graduate and then they go into a career agency, with a life insurance production number of blah blah blah, and
how many family and friends can you convert?
And you see 80% failure rate, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, let's talk about this, in a bigger sense. You don't need to go through that. You don't need to do that. There's far better places to go. There's great firms that you can join that they're going to take you on as, we have what we refer to this as a residency program. Yeah. You're going to get paid. You're going to see everything over the course of time, and you're going to be ready either through us, hopefully, or if you want to go someplace else, to take this and grow.
Thom and I were catching up before we kicked this thing off, Yudi, and we were talking about the caliber and quality of Kestra advisors, right? Mm-hmm. And hearing the two of you go back and forth about the importance of values and the importance of being authentic, I don't think that it's any surprise, right, that we have a bunch of like-minded advisors like the two of you running around this place.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Just when we were interviewing the different potential partners, not to name them on the podcast, but we all know who they are. We were really looking at every option: complete RIA, hybrid, corporate, and we actually went to a bunch of home offices and went through the whole process. I'll never forget where we were when we had our, it was all during COVID, so we had the Kestra online office visit, and the first thing Mike and I said to each other after was this team gets it. They're good people, they've got good corporate structure, they've got good corporate values. This is a place that will not only help our business grow, but we could grow as people for the long term. It was immediately sensed. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Let me piggyback on that, because I have a pile of satellite offices. So about 7 years ago, I was tasked with the job of looking at the industry for where all of our eventual homes would be. And frankly, we interviewed over 30 firms, whether they were wires or, it's easy to, fill in a blank and the whole gamut. Right. Some of those interviews were really short. It's you guys, no, this isn't going to work. And you meet people like Mark, you meet James, you meet people that really care about what they're bringing to us and helping us with.
Exactly.
And it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
The story that we were talking about right before we went on, that gentleman would be a cultural disaster.
And you would know it, right?
Absolutely.
They would show up and you would know it. All right, so last question. You guys have been fantastic with your time. We appreciate you being here. Things that, for you from a business perspective, the partnership with Kestra, how has the relationship here helped you further what you've been doing in the community?
That's a great question because, coming from the wirehouses, they didn't help us with anything ever. So, it was a real shock when we started getting, emails or a phone call saying, hey, did you see this opportunity for a grant that is coming out through FSI, or there's these Kestra awards. Last year's Ascend, the virtual Ascend, was our first opportunity, and we all get tons of emails, so some of them don't always get read. And sure enough, our Kestra team called us and said, hey, did you guys notice we have this Ascend Community Service Award? You should maybe apply. It sounds like you guys are very involved in the community. So I think Kestra, on the first and foremost, is just showing us the opportunities and providing opportunities for us not only get recognition for what we do, which none of us do it for that,
right,
but definitely helps the branding when it happens. But all of those awards have some kind of grant or financial gain for the charities we care about. So we were able to deliver a nice sized check to our local community, a Kestra check, which was great. But I think also part of what Kestra has enabled us to do in our engagement in the community is provide us with a framework, not where we could be the best versions of ourselves and as advisors, but also empower us to be able to communicate that to the community in a very impactful way, which, in the other environments we've been in the past, it might have been more claustrophobic, and the empowerment that you get from your Kestra team and them helping you figure out how to get things done through compliance and through the marketing and through all the activities you want to do with the OBA system, it's just become such a pleasure to try to figure it out. We used to say, we'll tell our client, talk about our relationship with Kestra. The answer you got when we called 1-800 number, our previous employer, was no, absolutely not. Now it's, let me look into it and find out for you. And it's always, how do we make it work? Right. And I think when we're involved in any activity, having a team that's helping you figure out how to make it work and be in compliance so that we're all doing the right thing in the right way is really important. And you guys really have excelled at that, for us at least.
That's great to hear. Thank you for saying that.
Well, we haven't gotten any, direct, money or anything from Kestra, but I think what we've gotten is the encouragement to continue to do what we do in the community. And I think that's as important. And we're still attempting to get maybe some kids from the University of Delaware to get internships, because again, I want to provide with avenues to see what the rest of this industry does look like. And I think it's the atmosphere of caring, it's the atmosphere of giving back, it's the atmosphere of introducing us to other like-minded advisors, and all it has a real positive. So.
Well, gentlemen, this has been a great conversation. Very much appreciate it. We are so fortunate to be able to serve both of you and your businesses, and are just excited to have you as a part of the family and here with us. So thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for doing what you do.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Cheers.